Tonight, Nightwing gets a gift from an old family friend who then unfortunately dies. Red Hood returns to the site of his sacred training because his instructor unfortunately died. And Catwoman makes the heist of a lifetime. And you get the point. All this and more on this week's episode of the Not So New 52. Hello everyone and welcome to episode 7 of the Not So New 52. I am your host, and we're finally here. Not the end of the show, mind you, but it's finally time for Justice League number 2. I genuinely cannot figure out why they did that. So episode 0 held Justice League number 1, and then we had to wait 7 weeks for issue number 2. Almost every other book has already had 2 issues in that period of time. I don't get it. Maybe they thought that everybody was going to be reading Justice League number 2 no matter what, so they could have honestly waited forever and people would still pick it up. But it baffles my mind that the flagship book, the one that you want to say, yes, this is what you must read first, is released after everything else. It just, I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Regardless, more books came out this week besides Justice League number 2. They include such marvelous things as Batman, Birds of Prey, Catwoman, Nightwing, Red Hood and the Outlaws, Supergirl, Green Lantern Corps, Captain Atom, DC Universe Presents, Justice League, Wonder Woman, Blue Beetle, and Legion of Superheroes. All of those issues number 2 came out on October 19th, 2011. Some of them I am looking forward to. I'm looking forward to reading them, and I'm looking forward to talking about them. Some of them I'm looking forward to them ending, and I never have to think about them again. You'll see which ones are which, but let's get this show on the road with Scott Snyder's Batman number 2. Batman number 2, written by Scott Snyder, art by Greg Capullo. Where we last left off, Batman has a John Doe, there's a threat against Bruce Wayne written on the wall, and the prime suspect is Nightwing because his DNA is at the scene. We pick up this issue once again talking about the city of Gotham. Get used to that. It is a running theme for the entirety of this run. Bruce is talking about Wayne Tower, how his great-grandfather built it with 12 gargoyles to welcome in people into the city. And most importantly, an observation deck that was open to everybody, like on the weekends, for free. And it has super unbreakable glass. And then we see Bruce Wayne crashing through it. But hey, how do we get here? Let's go back 24 hours earlier. Some people are in a helicopter. They just stole a bunch of, I think, statues. And Batman's chasing after them. They're barely managing to escape. And then somehow Batman manages to catch them on a motorcycle. They're in a helicopter. And he grabs one of them, drags him out the window. They end up trying to shake Batman by lowering down on some train tracks where there is a train. But Batman jumps his motorcycle on top of the train, flips it around, and then uses it to ramp into the windshield of the helicopter. Just to look badass. Literally, like he even does the smirk where he's like, this is going to be awesome. So he crashes in. Alfred's over the phone. He's like, oh, Commissioner Gordon's ready for you at the morgue. And he's like, all right, I'll be there. And Alfred's like, you're on the other side of town, sir. And he's like, I'll be there, Alfred, chill. So we get into the morgue. Commissioner's talking to the coroner, and he's like, yeah, this guy died because of a hemorrhage in his throat, when his throat was slit, but he was tortured pretty heavily before that, so I can't really make heads or tails of it. Commissioner's like, all right, well, thanks. I just want to, be here for a little bit afterwards for nothing weird at all. So then Batman, he talks to Gordon, but he's not there. It turns out he had hologram scanners installed at the morgue, so he can just scan the body and examine it while he's in the Batcave. So he's looking at the body, and he manages to make a few deductions. Because of his scarring and the location of it and the severity of it, he figures that this dude was a trainer for some really hardcore stuff, like hard sword fighting and like not even boxing, just fighting. and he's picking up something in one of his teeth. So Gordon pulls it, and there is an emblem of an owl inside. And it's an Athenian owl, which is a symbol of wealth and power, apparently, but Gordon makes the reference of an old Gotham myth, which I'm just going to read the little fairy tale rhyme here straight up, so I never have to read it again. Beware the court of owls that watches all the time, ruling Gotham from shadowed perch beyond granite and lime. They watch you at your hearth, they watch you in your bed. Speak not a word whispered of them, or they'll send a talon for your head. It's the Court of Owls. That's the thing. It's literally the name of the arc. So Batman's like, that's just a myth. They don't exist. And he's like, well, you didn't exist for a while. So and he's like, trust me, Gordon, they don't exist. I'm Batman, goddammit. So Gordon asks if he's following up on any leads he has. And he's like, I will as soon as I have one. Meanwhile, the lead walks in, Nightwing. And he's like, hey, you want to talk to me? And he's like, yeah, this John Doe. What do you know about him? And Dick explains that he was at some event or something like that, and the dude came up to him, and he was like, hey, they're real, they're terrible, and they're coming for you. And as he's being dragged off by security away from Dick Grayson, he gets, scratches of Dick's arm, which is why his DNA was at the crime scene. And Batman's like, all right, that makes sense, you're clear. And he's like, all right, cool. So what are you going to do with the rest of your day? Because apparently it's Bruce Wayne's last day alive. So Bruce goes to Old Wayne Tower, where we talked about at the beginning, to speak with Lincoln March about his mayoral campaign. And Bruce is like, all right, yeah, no, I like what you're doing. How much do I got to write you for a check? And Lincoln March is like, hey, I'm not here for your money. You can sign that, though, to Lincoln March, but I really am here for your vote. And Bruce is like, a lot of people would make that would sound like, cynical would say that's a bit corrupt sounding. But, Lincoln's like, well, I could say the same for you about your Gotham project. But anyway, they break down, they have a talk. Lincoln is apparently also an orphan, much like Batman. He lost his parents to a drunk driver. He doesn't remember pretty much anything about them now, except for a small ceramic heart. It was like a little lopsided, and his Lincoln's mother wore it as a pin, and it was just lying there on the pavement as, they were dead. And they talk for a bit, and it's like, Bruce, we can be good allies. We really need to work together for this city. By the way, something terrible and evil and ancient has come to Gotham. And Bruce is like, what are you? And in that moment, that evil ancient thing shows up, kills all the security guards around. It's dressed like a giant owl. They don't give it a name. I'll give it a name. It's Talon. A Talon. And he shows up, and he uses throwing knives to kill the security guards, like straight up. He wounds Lincoln March, hits him in the chest, and starts throwing some knives at Bruce. Bruce is like, all right, I don't know if anyone's watching, so I got to land some lucky shots just in case. And then as he's trying to land what looks like lucky shots, the Talon's just deflecting him. And he's like, all right, no more playtime. Gets the Talon in chokehold, goes to break his windpipe. Talon's still alive, despite him putting on like 20 times the lethal force. And then as he's getting more and more knives in him, Talon's like, Bruce Wayne, the Court of Owls that sends you to die, kicks him out the window, and then dives after him. Bruce is doing some mental calculations of like, all right, I can't grab any of the gargoyles or else I'll have my arms ripped off, so how am I going to survive this? And the Talon makes the comment of how much he loves killing Waynes as he keeps on slashing at Bruce. Bruce does end up grabbing onto a secret 13th gargoyle that nobody knows but him, because he knows Gotham, and because he knows Gotham, he can say with certainty there is no such thing as the Court of Owls. As the owl crashes onto a car beneath them and is picked up by EMTs. He's like, there's no such thing as the Court of Owls. As the Talon comes back to life in the back of the ambulance and kills the drivers and is now off to do some more murdering, I presume. End of issue. It's very good. It's very much standalone even. Like, yes, you need to know the whole backstory going into it of like, okay, someone set a death wish for Bruce Wayne, who's Lincoln March and stuff like that. Obviously, you need to know that stuff, but like, the cliffhanger in this wasn't even the cliffhanger of like, oh no, is Bruce Wayne going to survive this? It's like, no, we finished that. He's already there. The cliffhanger was done at the beginning. And I really like that in comics. I really like when they're not like teasing you. They know their story is strong enough. They're not teasing you to keep them going into the next issue. Like, yes, it's a little cliffhanger of, oh, the Talon's still alive, but that's just, he was going to be regardless if they showed it or not. So I'm happy they showed it that way. All in all, I'm going to get this like an 8.5. It's a very well done issue. The art is fantastic. Can't complain about Greg Capullo at all. My only real complaint is the whole like statue thing at the beginning just feels a little bit like, okay, how does this relate to anything? But honestly, I'm okay with Batman just being a badass sometimes. Who isn't? So yeah, 8.5. Of course, I'm already loving this arc, and I'm loving where they're gonna go with it. So yeah, Batman, 2 thumbs up. Birds of Prey, number 2, written by Duane Swierczynski, art by Jesus Saiz. Left off last issue with Ev and Dinah escorting some dude, some journalist, to an airport to get away from trouble, and then he blows up. This picks up, well, it picks up in Japan immediately. There's a woman, Katana, skip to the chase, it's Katana. She uses her katana to kill a bunch of people who apparently found her for something, and she's like, well, my love, my dear, talking to her sword, I've taken your advice and we're going to Gotham. And then we pick up with the explosion again. Black Canary is narrating and she's like, all right, so this dude just exploded. This is an ultra secure terminal meant for like celebrities and politicians, so that shouldn't be happening. But hey, here we are. Starling, Ev wants to get the hell out of there. Black Canary is like, no, we need some evidence first. Can you make a distraction? And she's like, you got 10 seconds. And apparently it's a whole thing that like it will take exactly 10 seconds. It's just a fun little thing to do with the panels. So Black Canary runs over, picks up just a piece of the dude and puts it in like a carry-out box. One woman sees her and is like, hey, you shouldn't touch that. What are you doing? And then we never see her again, so I don't even know what the purpose of her was. But in the meantime, Starling is stealing one of those like little golf cart things that the security drives around in airports. Steals one of those. They both drive off and crash through a window onto the tarmac to get away. As they're getting away, though, one of the invisible dudes from the last issue says that the test was complete and both the superhero girls are leaving the area. So they're clearly in on it. 3 days later, we are at the funeral of the guy. Starling's there picking up some intel, pretending that she knew him more intimately than she did. And apparently he just got a bunch of headaches, and that was the only hint they have to go off of. They sampled the piece of him they put in that takeout box, and apparently there were 3 different trace elements that 2 of them were explosives. So they're looking into just where the explosives came from right now. As they're in a place, they're talking about how they need a base of operations, and then who shows up but Katana. And Black Canary is like, okay, so you're going to help us? You're going to join us? And she's like, no, I don't want to join you, but my husband says I should. And as she's doing this, she's, looking at her sword. Starling just thinks, okay, she's a little bit cuckoo. But then Black Canary speaks Japanese, can make out what she's saying, and realizes, oh yeah, she thinks her sword is her husband. Yeah, she's definitely crazy, but I'm not going to tell Starling that because that's just a bit too much. Meanwhile, Starling gets a call about the 3rd trace element and what it is. Sends Black Canary to pick up the intel, and it's this whole thing about how it's a cute scientific researcher and how Starling's trying to set up Black Canary with them. Okay. So, anyway, apparently it's a drug for a stroke. Like it's a treatment for stroke patients or something like that. So it's a neurochemical, and all the places that have been storing it have been broken into in the past few weeks, except for one. So where do they go? The one that hasn't been broken into. They get in there, they're looking around, and they realize that the invisible guys from before are also here. Fight breaks out. Katana's just killing them straight up, stabbing them through the chest and whatever. Canary shows off her canary cry. Katana's impressed. And they hint for a second at what Starling's powers are, because we have yet to really see them. And all they say in the thing here is, we're going to have to get used to each other's quirks, I suppose, especially Ev's, which are Legion, ... I'm assuming, like, Legion of Superheroes, but I don't think that's Black Canary would know about that, so I don't actually know what they're talking about. I suppose we'll see moving forward. Anyway, they have themselves a hostage of one of the invisible guys, and they're going to do some good old interrogation. And as they step outside into this garden area in back, who else but Poison Ivy is there waiting, saying how she's happy that they brought her friends a little snack. The plants. He's talking about the plants. And as Katana and Starling are straight up ready to murder her because I guess she's some sort of... I mean, she's a psychopath, but, worse than they are. Black Canary makes it clear that she also invited Poison Ivy, and she wants to know, is this a yes to joining their team? End of issue. It's fine. I don't have any strong opinions on it either way, really, which almost is worse than having a strong opinion negatively, because it's just so okay, I guess. If I have one major art critique, it's the sequence where they're getting away on the golf cart. Black Canary doesn't get away. It's everywhere in the art here. She puts the key in the ignition, she drives away, she finishes her countdown. You see her driving down the hallway without Black Canary in sight anywhere, not on the golf cart, not anywhere. And then all of a sudden in the next panel, as they're crashing through the window, Black Canary is on the golf cart. So I think that's just a 2-page long screw up that nobody bothered to fix. As for everything else, I mean, okay, Katana, I guess. It's nothing in here is grabbing me, really. Okay, there's a drug that can make people explode. Yes, that should be grabbing me. But this particular issue doesn't further anything, all we've discovered is, it's hidden in some sort of stroke treatment. Fine. I'm still not that intrigued. For fans of Poison Ivy, I'm sure this is great, because you're getting a tease of her. But she hasn't even done anything yet. So, now, overall, I'm giving this a 4.5. The only reason it's under 5 is just because I do think they managed to screw up the art for a full page, which is completely unacceptable, honestly. So yeah, now I know we're still building the team. I know I shouldn't be expecting that much because this is literally just the team building stuff. But for right now, it's just I guess, Birds of Prey, fine. Catwoman number 2, written by Judd, Winick, art by Guillem, March. Where we last left off, Batman and Catwoman were getting freaky, and this issue picks up with them still getting freaky. Catwoman particularly mentions that it plays out a lot like a bar fight. Quote, bodies get hurled around, things get broken, some pretty filthy language is uttered, some very misplaced anger is present, and tomorrow there's definitely going to be some bruising. Issue continues forward. They're having some pillow talk, which equates to Batman saying, hey, are you all right? Someone kind of blew up your apartment. And she's like, oh, you actually care about me? He's like, I care about anyone else getting caught in the crossfire of your stupid stealing stuff. And she runs away, busts out the window. She comments that Batman can always catch her. It's never been a thing of that. He just likes chasing her too much. So that one pony painting that they mentioned offhandedly last issue that gave Catwoman some ideas, she breaks into wherever it's being held, she steals it and leaves a note saying how it's an ugly picture, but she hears that it's worth something to them, so she'll be in touch. She's back at her friend Lola's place. She's a little bit sad because she saw the dude who, as Lola put it, hurt her friend, but it seems a lot like killing to me, but I don't know. So she's like, all right, I'm pretty emotionally involved in this, but I'm not going to back away from it. So I'm going to go ahead and kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Like a cat kills birds. Anyway, so she sets up this whole plan where she contacted 2 rival Russian gangs, one of which included the dude that she hates so much. And she said specifically that he had to be there because he's so cool or whatever. And told them both that if they want the painting, they can buy it. There's going to be a dead drop in a public place, aka the Wayne Foundation Children's Trust ball or something, where Bruce Wayne is going to be present. She dresses up in a costume, and Bruce Wayne, still keeping up the drunk playboy act, talks to Alfred, and he's like, okay, so Alfred, Catwoman's over here. I'm gonna see what she wants. And Alfred's like, maybe you should keep your distance, because you're Bruce Wayne right now and not Batman. And he's like, got it. And he goes over and talks to her anyway. They flirt for a bit, neither one knowing who the other one... Well, okay. Selena doesn't know that Bruce Wayne is Batman. But he's laying down the moves thick. And she's like, wow, okay, if I was not in the middle of something right now, me and you would totally be doing something. But I'm talking to some friends. We see that she's texting the whole time, setting up, seeing where they're setting the dead drops for the money, so she can then check on it and then send them the location of the painting that's also in the Wayne Manor. As she leaves, Bruce apparently was intercepting the texts and figures out that what she's doing. We cut to where the painting is being held in some random back bedroom, and both rival gangs arrive at the same time to pick it up and then just have this huge standoff. Bruce comes in, about to get involved and stop any bloodshed. Catwoman basically holds him back and is like, you're not going in there. And she sets off a firecracker to get everyone startled. Shots start being fired, everyone's dying, and Catwoman makes specific note of when the dude she hates so much is just riddled with bullets. Catwoman gets the painting back and the 2 bags of cash and runs out. Bruce Wayne giving chase, but Selena makes a comment that he couldn't possibly catch her. So she goes back to Lowell's apartment. She's like, hey, Lowell, I got a bunch of money. We should totally roll around naked in it because that's just what this book is. And then she sees Lola, who has been tied up to a chair, brutally tortured, and then shot in the head. Catwoman is a little upset by this, understandably, but she doesn't have much time because she's beaten up by some really big dudes all wearing skull masks, just tearing her apart. And she's greeted by the leader in like a pinstripe suit with he looks like just a human skull, just nothing but bone, and his name is Bone. Very creative name for a gangster. And he's like, I hear you're the one who's been stealing from me. My name's Bone, and I'm going to hurt you a lot. And that's where Catwoman issue 2 leaves off. I like it, which is weird because, I don't know, the first issue just feels so completely separate from this, I know it's the same story. I know it's telling the exact same story. It's even picking up on all these same plot threads, but it just has so much of a different tone that it's hard to describe exactly what's different about it. But I do like this issue. It's very self-contained. It sets its own stuff up and it finishes it all in the same issue. Obviously, you get your cliffhanger. I genuinely did not see the Lola twist coming at all. The fact they set her up in issue 1, and they didn't set her up in a way that seemed like she was going to die either. So, yeah, no, very good twist. Very well done there. As of right now, I have no idea who this Bone is. Like, she's made it clear that she's stealing from mobsters, yes, but it seemed like it was all the mobsters who were just involved in that gunfight. So I don't know who this guy is, but clearly he has a bone to pick. Ha 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 ha. Subscribe. So, yeah, no, it's fine. I honestly can't fault it for anything as much as I would love to. It's a decently told book. I really like the whole... It's getting Batman right while not being a Batman book. Like, he's putting on the drunk playboy act and he's still doing his Batman stuff at the same time. It's doing a good job with that. So, no, I'm going to go ahead and give this one a 7. It's just a good read. Again, no faults with it, really. It's just... And even the art, like I know Guillem art is not for everybody, but like the part where she's just getting beat down after seeing Lola's death, it's a very well done scene. It really sells the brutality of it. So yeah, no, I'm giving this one a 7, and I don't know if I would say I look forward to Catwoman 3, but I liked Catwoman 2, so that's got to be worth something. Nightwing, issue 2, written by Kyle Higgins, art by Eddy Barrows. Last issue we left off with Dick Grayson. Sorry, Nightwing. No, actually Dick Grayson being attacked by a masked killer guy. Nightwing jumps in and then takes the fight for the sake of Dick Grayson. So we pick up exactly where we left off. Dick Grayson's being held down by this psycho guy. Literally, his name is Saiko, S-A-I-K-O. We get that after a couple pages in here. And Dick, as soon as he's knocked down, he comes to the realization, like, hey, by the way, is your suit insulated? Because I got 150,000 volts in mine. And he lets off this electric blast, which knocks the guy out. For all of like 30 seconds, Dick expected to last longer, so maybe this guy's a little bit superpowered. He throws the dude and then fires off a huge explosive round, which hits a car, which allows Psycho to get away as Dick is forced to go help the people who are in the car. He rips off the windshield, and they're like, oh, thank you so much. And Nightwing's like, okay, well, the assassin's gone. I need to get home because I'm having a long day. He gets home out of his outfit, and the moment he does, Raya, who was the girl from Haley's circus last issue, who was totally hitting on him, was like, hey, Dick, you need to come with me to Atlantic City tonight. He's like, I'm kind of half undressed here. Why do we need to go to Atlantic City? And it's like, oh, I've got 2 days off. Look, we've really just got to get there. You got to trust me. If we leave right now, we can make it there by morning in car. And he's like, I've got a better idea. And they take one of Bruce Wayne's private jets because, hey, if you got it, why not flaunt it? And Raya is even saying so much. He's like, are you trying to impress me? And he's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. He just said you need to get there fast. He asks what it's all about, and apparently the dude in charge of Haley Circus, Mr. C.C. Haley himself, wants to see Dick. And Dick says why, and Ray explains that he's dying. He's literally on his deathbed, and Dick just had to show up. So they go back to the outskirts of Atlantic City where the family warehouse is, which is where they keep all the circus stuff that they've retired over the years. And it's just a lot. Like, it's a lot of taxidermied animals, it looks like. But anyway, he arrives. He calls for Mr. Haley. Haley comes out and he's like, hey, look. And he's hooked up to like a ventilator. He's literally on death's door. But he comes out and he's like, look, I didn't want it to be this way, but the tumors are moving faster. I need to talk to you. Look, I'm leaving you the circus. I'm leaving you everything. Here's the deed to it. This warehouse, the circus, all of our stuff, it's yours. He's like, what are you giving it to me for? He's like, I was going to give it to your parents before they died. But I figured, considering that you're a superhero, you can handle it. And he's like, who said I'm a superhero? He's like, Dick, I saw you on the trapeze as you were growing up. I know how you fly through the air with the slightest of ease. I've seen Nightwing too. I know you're him. It's fine. But you need to be able to take care of the circus when I'm gone. So Dick hops back on the plane back to Gotham, just trying to process everything that happened. Raya is there to comfort him in a comforting way. They do so, and then Dick gets a call on the plane phone, and he's like, hello? And the person on the other line is Psycho. He gives his name at this point, and he's like, and I think I can call you Nightwing, Mr. Dick Grayson. You showing up there made a lot more sense, which is something I commented on specifically. But anyway, moving on. He asks how the dude knows about it, and apparently he followed Dick Grayson to Atlantic City and straight up is now torturing Mr. Haley, this frail old man. So they turn the plane around. He makes some flimsy excuse about how Haley had one last thing he had to show him. He slips into his Nightwing gear, and him and Psycho start to fight. No more funny little comments or anything. Nightwing's just out to try to save Mr. Haley's life and stop this guy. So at one point he manages to get a good kick to the face, goes off, finds Mr. Haley. Psycho's there. He starts really going after Dick. Dick's like, I'm not a killer. I don't know why you think I'm a killer, but I'm not. That's not who I am. And this, between all the fighting and all that, the warehouse has essentially gone up in flames. It is crashing down around them. Dick grabs Mr. Haley, tells him everything's going to be okay. The fire trucks are almost there. He's going to make it. But no luck. The entire warehouse is up in flames. Dick didn't see Psycho escape. He made sure to keep an eye out, but he didn't see any trace of him. And he turns back to Mr. Haley, and Mr. Haley's like, I'm sorry. And, he's super frail. He's whispering now. But for the sake of the audio, he says, I'm sorry. They're trying to kill us because of the secret of what the circus really is. And the answer's, quote, in the heart of it. That's it. The answer is in the heart of it. And then Haley passes away on a hilltop at sunrise. A nice little sad, somber scene with Nightwing holding him in his arms. End of issue. I like it. I like the issue. I think it does a good job of setting up, moving forward, a brand new status quo for Dick Grayson. He owns the entire circus that his parents died in. I can't imagine that's something he wants to keep, especially considering his thoughts on it last issue. I would imagine he's probably going to sell it, like give it to the people who are actually with the circus, or at least somebody who wants more to do with it. But he's going to probably use this as his investigation point to figure out, okay, what's the secret of the circus? I don't know if Mr. Haley was like an actual character, like in past Nightwing stories. In this, though, he's introduced literally just to die and also, have somebody who knows Nightwing's secret for all of about 8 pages. Feels a little bit cheap, but I like how they treat him, I guess. They don't treat him like he is just absolute fodder. They do treat him like he is a character that means something to Dick Grayson. I don't know. I like the overall issue, but when I start breaking down to the individual plot points, it feels like really disjointed, where it's like, okay, he's fighting the dude. Now he needs to go to Atlantic City. Now he's inheriting a circus. Now the dude who he inherited the circus from is being tortured. It all just seems really disjointed. But overall, it played out very nicely. I'm going to go ahead and give this one a 6.5. It's good. It's not fantastic. It is good, though. I don't really have any complaints about the art. The only thing I got to say is that Dick Grayson, on at least 2 of these pages here, they give him a lot of detail. Like, there's a lot of close-up face shots here. He looks exactly like Tom Welling in Smallville. Like, straight up. Like, it's not even a comparison. It is exactly the same. But that's, I don't know. That's just maybe because I watched it recently. Yes, I know. Shut up. So, 6.5. I'm still looking forward to where it goes from here. It's a good, solid base for a story to be told from. So yeah, Nightwing number 3. I'll keep an eye out for it. Red Hood and the Outlaws number 2, written by Scott Lobdell, art by Kenneth Rocafort. We last left off. Red Hood had just learned that his entire clan or whatever that he was trained by was murdered. He went to go see the place where it was, and he was ambushed by a bunch of warrior people. This issue picks up with him also being held at sword and spear point, but this is years prior when he just got resurrected, and he's essentially about to be trained by those people. So it shows that he was brought to what is called the 100 Acres of All. It's not on any sort of map. It's where the All Caste is, the group of monks that were guided by the Ancient One named Dukra, the instructor, and Talia al Ghul, a.k.a. Batman's former lover, who brought Jason back to life, basically brought him here so that he could be guided, because ever since being brought to life, he's just been a little angry, I guess you could say. He shows up here, he's introduced to Dukra, and as she's telling him to bow, and she just gets on one knee and pats her on the head and just says, okay, yeah, sure, little lady. And Dukra just knocks him out with no trouble at all. She chastises Talia, just be like, what am I supposed to do with this, huh? The kid's an ass. What am I supposed to do with this? And she's like, I'm sorry, you don't have to do anything. He's like, no, I'm going to do something. I'm going to train him, because otherwise I'm letting that out into the general world, and that's just not good. Cut to modern day. We see Jason is on a plane. He's sitting next to Roy, and he's just kind of spacing out, thinking about, how his entire clan's been killed. And Roy's like, hey, man, are you still upset that I stopped the Starfire? He's like, no, I'm not. Please stop bringing that up, and I'm not upset about it. And he's like, okay, all right, as long as you say we're cool. Meanwhile, one of the stewardesses come up, and asks Jason if he needs anything, and goes out, gets him a drink, and slips her phone number in with it. And she's like, wow, all right. Sorry, he's like, wow, all right, she's pretty cool. She's pretty smooth. So maybe I'll see what that is. Her name is Isabel, in case she ever shows up again. Blonde, pretty. They arrive in Hong Kong, and Jason makes very clear they need to keep a low profile. So who drives up in a limousine but Starfire, saying, oh, I picked up our transportation, hope you don't mind. And she's wearing full-on, like, the best I can say is like an heiress sort of outfit. Like, she's dressed to the nines. And so everyone's just sitting there like, wow, look at that. You rescued me only 3 days ago, and we're already a team. Fantastic. Jason's like, we're not a team. I'm going, and you guys are tagging along against my will. So we're not a team. And he's like, are you still upset about the... And Jason and Starfire both tell him to shut up, and I'm fully on board with it. So he arrives at one of his safe houses here in Hong Kong. There's this huge woman there named Susie Sue. I don't know her. She's just not familiar to me. But anyway, she's like, Jason, as you finally came back, as I live and breathe. And he's like, Susie, I'm not here for you, and I know you're not going to shoot an unarmed man. And she's like, yes, I am. Why would you think I'm not? And he uses that as an opportunity to grab some hidden guns, shoot all of them. And Susie's bleeding out, but, like, she's still fine, I guess? Like, he doesn't seem to care too much. Then again, it says putting down Susie. I don't know, maybe she's dead. So anyway, he grabs his stuff, all the gear he needs, and they head off with someone who Red Hood saved in the past, who also knows the secret identity. He's not good at this secret identity thing. And he's like, you can fly a helicopter to us where we need to go, out in the Himalayas. So they go out. It's like a snow and lightning storm. Jason dives out of the helicopter, and both Arsenal and Starfire follow suit. And Jason looks like he's about to collide straight into a wall, but it just lets him pass right through, hologram or something like that. And both Roy and Starfire come in afterwards. We get the exact same scene as before, where he's like, oh, I'm so sorry that I let this happen to you. But now it's different because a spirit starts talking to Jason, and also Roy and Starfire are there, so I don't know why they didn't just include this part in the last issue, or why they decided to add it into this one. Either way, we get some backstory that it is a man named Azzar. It broke into the Chamber of All, and it's a group called the Untitled, who are more powerful than ever. So anyway, the warriors that were attacking Jason were apparently all the warriors who he trained with. They were all his like brothers in arms of the All Cast. So they all came back to life somehow. And he doesn't want to kill him. He doesn't want to kill him again, I should say, because they are straight up zombies. But, I mean, Arsenal and Starfire just start letting rip. So, it doesn't really have much of a choice. So, he's having flashbacks during the whole fight. He's saying, these were my friends, these were my brothers, and they taught me how to fight and become the way I am now. So, he has some respect for them as he's mowing them down. Roy insensitively is like, taking out the trash. And he's like, dude, Roy, just shut up. And he takes a moment. He prays for his fallen brothers. And he's like, all right, let's go kick some ass, team. And that's where we leave off. How do I feel about this? I don't. I think that's the shortest answer. I don't, really. I mean, I don't know. It's just so much of a nothing so far, This is just it's setting up, like, okay, Jason is being hit on by a stewardess. And then he also had a past with this woman named Susie Sue, but she's dispatched already, and I have no reason to think the stewardess is ever going to show up again. All of his friends who are already dead, and he's killing again, he's having flashbacks to. But obviously, like, we're not ever going to see them. They're dead twice over now. Nothing that we've set up so far has mattered. The only thing that's been furthered is the fact of, okay, we know that Jason existed before this book started. And yeah, clearly. Like, I have no problem with giving a backstory, but this issue is nothing but Jason just explaining, like, here's how I got to where I am now. And if it wants to have an issue where it does that, fine, but don't pretend like it's an issue where it's also forwarding the plot. So, I don't know. As it stands, I'm going to give this one a 5. It's brought down by the story, but re-elevated by the art, because Rocafort's art is just, it's great looking. I don't ever have a problem with it, except Susie Sue, but that's just because they designed her to be that way. She's just, anyway. So no, I'm going to give this one a 5. It's average, it's meh, it's whatever, but it's issue 2. Only 38 more to go, Jesus. Supergirl number 2, written by Michael Green and Mike Johnson, art by Mahmud Asrar. We left last issue with Supergirl having just arrived on Earth and beating the crap out of a bunch of people, and is stopped by Superman. And this issue picks up 3 days ago. It specifically says 3 days ago, back on Krypton, where Kara, aka Supergirl, is looking over her baby cousin Kal-El, and is saying like, man, I should be studying for the trials so that I can wear the crest of my family and the responsibilities that come with it, but instead I'm looking over my little baby cousin. I sure hope he doesn't grow up too fast. Cut to now, Superman has stopped Kal-El and is like, he's speaking in Kryptonian, he's saying, who are you? Supergirl just stutters. She thinks to herself, lost, confused, alone, but she first thing comes out of her mouth is she threatens Superman. She's like, who are you, and why are you wearing my family's crest on your chest? And he's like, calm down, I understand, I can hear like the blood rush into your head. And he's like, no, who are you, why are you wearing that? I am Kara Zor-El, I'm from Krypton. And he's like, oh, that's not possible. Like, for real, that's not something that can happen. And Supergirl keeps freaking out because she wakes up here, the machines are attacking her, something's happening to her eyes and her ears. And she's like, wait a minute, hold on. You're daughter of Zor-El? And she's like, yes, do you know them? Where are they? And she's like, I'm Kal-El. You knew my parents, and if you really are Kara, I'm your cousin. And Kara responds by knocking him out. Just punch to the face through multiple trees. It looks like there's a panel here where it just looks like his entire face is swelling up. Kara's still freaking out. It's like, he was a baby. I held him just a few days ago. There's no way. What have you done to him? And it's just an all-out fight between Superman and Supergirl. The people who are in the mech suits come in, and they're like, okay, so that didn't work. The plan that we had completely failed. And they're like, whatever. Superman's taking care of them. We got the primary target, whatever that may be. So as Supergirl's wailing into Superman, she starts activating her X-ray vision and freaks out because she can see the bones in her hand. She tries to stop it, and Superman's like, look, calm down. It's just one of the many powers you have, because here on Earth, we get those sort of powers. Now look, how did you get here? And she just turns back around, grabs Superman. Superman's had enough. Throws her up into the sky. She feels like she's going into orbit, but when she feels that she's not going up any higher, she's like, and here comes the ground. But then she looks around and she realizes, oh, wait, no, I'm flying. And as soon as she realizes that, she starts crashing back down to Earth. Superman catches her and says, okay, now let's just talk. And again, beats the crap out of him. He manages to hide in the cloud cover. Supergirl goes for his eyes. She escapes down to the Great Wall of China, because I guess that's where they are. And as she's flying around, Superman cuts her off and is like, hey, I can help you if you are who you say you are, but I really need the punching to stop. And what does she do? She keeps punching, punches him through the Great Wall of China 4 times. I'm not saying 4 separate punches here. I'm saying with the bends in the wall, she angles it so she punches him through 4 separate bits of the wall. She looks around, she thinks she sees him coming, but turns out it's just a man cradling a baby, and that people actually live here. And she's like, oh, these aren't ruins, this is someone's home. Okay, sorry, I may have taken that too far. She goes and she flies off with Superman, and Superman's like, hey, look, so you remember how there were those giant weapons on Krypton called World Killers that were so dangerous that they were locked away? we kind of have all the powers of those things, so we got to be real careful with our powers. And she's like, okay, but like, why are you even here? Why are you staying here? Why not go back home to Krypton? And Superman reveals, because Krypton's gone. It blew up. And Kara's just taken aback. That's pretty much the end of the issue. We get a one-page cutaway of whatever those mechs were after. It was an artifact from the crater, the spaceship she landed in. And there's a woman who's talking to a man, and the man picks up some crystal, some red crystal, and it says that this is all the knowledge we'll ever need. Whichever, maybe it's red kryptonite, maybe it's one of the crystals from like Superman the movie. I don't know. I think I really liked this the first issue, if I remember my opinion correctly. And I still really like this. I really like the idea of like someone shows up and they basically, it's as if you land on an alien planet and you discover that you are a god all of a sudden. You have just crazy powers. How do you react to it? It's a great insight into that. And she's just freaking out. And then she realizes that the one tether she has to her reality of what she remembers is the symbol that is sitting there before her. And it's her baby cousin who she saw 3 days ago. I love this. I love the setup to this story. It's a fantastic way to tell Supergirl's origin, you know? I do wish we spent a bit more time on Krypton, but I imagine that's the sort of thing that we're going to get more of over the course of this arc. Because I want to see like when she leaves, how she gets in spaceship, why she doesn't remember Krypton blowing up, that sort of stuff. But as it stands now, I really do enjoy this issue. My only complaint is occasionally there's some panels where Clark is looking a little bit rough in terms of like literally everything. Mostly facial. He doesn't have that Superman charm to him. He just seems a little bit more rough. But I'm not going to fault that too much when the story is this good. So all in all, I'm going to give this one a 7.5. It's extremely well done. I'm very much looking forward to the rest of Supergirl. I don't know. I feel like if they drag out the origin stuff too long, I'm going to be upset with it. But for 2 issues, it's definitely working, and I'm definitely interested in more. Green Lantern Corps number 2, written by Peter J. Tomasi, art by Fernando Pasarin. We last left off with an entire planet being genocided and 2 Green Lanterns dead. Pick up pretty much right there. They're still investigating the planet. They look around and it's like, okay, so someone left this entire planet out to dry, had the ability to kill 2 Green Lanterns and then surgically cut off their fingers, but they didn't take the rings. Like, the rings are still out there searching for replacement lanterns within their sector. So what the hell is going on here? And one of the lanterns named, I want to make sure I get his name right here because they does something, Isamat. He's like, they're more than just lanterns. They were people. They have names, and we're going to take them down from these bloody pikes. So they put him down to be interred. And then they look around them and they're like, hey, there's an entire planet of dead things here. Like, what do we do with this? And one of them just straight up says, like, nothing. Like, this has to just serve as a reminder and, like, the evidence when we finally take down whoever did this. And then, as if right on cue, they get a detection of the same sort of portal that was detected on this planet is opening up on a nearby planet. So they're like, all right, cool, let's go. And they start flying off. We get a cut to a planet filled with dark things. They have a green glow about them. They've got the fingers of the 4 lanterns that have been killed so far. And they're handing them off in some sort of like ritual sacrifice. And then as they're talking, it looks like they might be eating the fingers. Not going to lie. I think that might be what's happening, but it's a bit unclear. But anyway, the portal opens up and all the water from that previous planet is being dispersed on this dead-looking one. And they're like, finally, we have a sea. Our planet is coming back to life again. But there's a little beep on one of the guy's monitors and how there's a problem that needs to be addressed. Cut to planet of Zabas, which is where the detection was being done on the Green Lantern side. Portal is sucking up a whole bunch of trees and these cute little Ewok-looking things. I guess they're more squirrels, but you know what I mean. The same sort of vibe. And Green Lanterns show up and they plug up the portal with their constructs. And they're like, all right, save the civilians. Do what we can to take out the portal. Because now they're trying to take all the trees on this tree planet. And as they're trying to plug up the portal, something's coming through. And it's just a bunch of these like black leather / armor clad guys. None of them really have any sort of personality to them. They're like all identical. So they start crashing through. There's maybe like 10 of them. And they start beating up the Green Lanterns throughout. They're setting up some pretty good strategies, but they're managing to use their rings to blow them away. Izamat goes through and he's like, you said the only way we could deal with this portal is to blow it up, so here I go. Suicide mission. And he goes towards the portal to destroy it. And seemingly he did. As soon as he hits the portal, it explodes and he's able to take it out. But as John and not Kyle, why am I blanking on the name? Guy. As John and Guy are using their rings against two of the people, they come up and they just like grab their hands. Like they're able to get past the willpower of the rings. But then Guy and John recite the oath, do the whole in brightest day, blackest night, blah, blah, blah. And they blow the guys away with their immense willpower. Hit them hard. And they're like, oh, well, you just have to have more willpower, guys. That's all it takes to beat them. And one of their teammates is like, that's easier said than done, Guy. Thank you. We cut back to Izamat. He went through the portal and it's just darkness on the other side. He sees that the portal's shut. It shut down, like it exploded, but it still has a little activity to it. But then he hears noises in the dark around him, and he's scared. Like, he's a dinosaur-looking thing, but you can see the fear on his face. Cut back to the fight. It's over. They managed to get all the armor-clad guys bound up in some constructs, and they're like, all right, so why did you take the water for that planet? Why are you killing Green Lanterns? And why were you taking the trees from this planet? And like, we weren't taking the trees from this planet. We were taking the people. The people have a unique chemical they exhale that basically allows us to terraform planets. It makes us have an atmosphere. And he's like, okay, fine, whatever. You did with the people, but like, what are you doing with the other stuff? He's like, what do you mean doing? This was the last stop on our mission. It's already done. We did it. It's like, fine, why are you killing Green Lanterns? It's like, why shouldn't we? You guys suck. And that's basically as far as they got. But then they look up and the portal's reopening. And the first thing out through it is Izamat. Except it is Izamat sans all of his limbs. He's literally just a torso, a head, and a tail. And he's like, don't worry about me. We got bigger problems. Because out through the portal comes an entire like horde army of these same armor-clad guys. And that's where we leave off. I don't like this as much as I like the first issue. The first issue was it was a good look at Guy and John. It did a lot of great things. It set up a good foil for the mystery. And then it left it on a very powerful note. This one, It was just more of a fight scene than anything else, which I think you need, considering the first issue didn't really have it, really. So I understand the need for it, just from a superhero book. But individually, it's just, there's not a lot to it, I think Izamat's the only one who got, like, an actual story here, but I didn't care about him, like, before anything else, Like, I was told to care about him in this issue. Then they did something to him, and I'm expected to go, oh, no, not Izamat. No. So, I don't know. It's definitely a downgrade from the last issue. I wish I remember what I rated the last issue, but I'm going to give this one 6.5. It's fine. It's got some issues to it in that, like I said, it didn't feel like it really did anything. I can't fault the art anywhere in here. Especially the part where he goes through the portal and starts hearing noises, because the fact that I can tell fear on a dinosaur's face, like, that's good. You're doing a good job if I can see fear on a dinosaur's face. Everything else, pretty stock standard. It's a superhero fight book for the rest of it. Nothing really that big or bad about it. I am interested by the dead planet part, the part where he's teleporting the ocean, because it seems like they're going to try to set up like a sort of like, oh, well, where was the Green Lantern for our planet? And it was this dead planet that maybe they didn't know had life or something. I don't know. Just speculation on my part. But yeah, it's an okay issue. I think it just needed to happen for the sake of having a fight. But hopefully they can bring it back to more of the tone of issue number 1 by the time we hit the next issue. Captain Atom number 2, written by J.T. Krul, art by Freddie Williams II. Last left off, Captain Atom was absorbing all the energy of a volcano that appeared in Manhattan and then died. This issue picks up pretty much right after that. It opens up with news people who are covering the event. News people turn geologists and are like, hey, what happened here? And geologists are like, it's crazy, right? And then they're like, yeah, it was. So Captain Atom, he saved everybody. He's a hero. Everyone's so happy for Captain Atom. However, some people are saying it's kind of weird that Captain Atom showed up just as this volcano showed up and then disappeared just as quickly. Could he be the cause of this issue? More at 11. And then we get a cutaway to Captain Atom is able to reform his molecules and, become whole again. Because, of course, he is. He can control his molecules. He gets a little bit on, talking about the basic building blocks of human life, but hey, he's barely even human anymore, so it's not that hard to do. So when he comes back, though, he looks out at the city, and he sees this crazy energy pattern just everywhere, and it's all coming towards him, and all at once he can, hear and see and just fully feel, as far as I can tell, the electromagnetic spectrum, because it's just all of the headlines, all of the tweets, all of the texts, the entirety of the internet and TV is all just being blasted at him all at once. So he teleports into his base, the Continuum, where they're doing all the research from last issue. Everyone's surprised to see him because they genuinely thought he might be dead, but they ask him hey, what's wrong? Because you're kind of screaming a lot. And he tells the one woman, Renita, to help him. They put him into some super fluid that keeps the electromagnetic spectrum out. And Dr. Magala then gives his backstory very briefly of they were looking into something in the quantum field. They had a craft that needed piloting, and Captain Nathaniel Adam signed up. But Magala lost sight of protocol and... oops, Captain Atom was made. So Renita's there, and she's feeling bad for Captain Atom because, he went through a traumatic experience. In walks a dude named Scott, which I can't even remember if he was in the last issue, but he freaking hates Captain Atom. He's like, this dude is probably giving all of us cancer right now. He's unstable. He's going to explode. He shouldn't be here around us normal people. But Captain Atom steps out and he's like, hey, shut up, Scotty. I'm getting the hang of this. And Renita is smart enough to make her own choices because it kind of seems like Scott's trying to also hit on Renita. Anyway, they head outside the Continuum because it's protected from the entirety of the electromagnetic spectrum, which I'm wondering why the point of the superfluid was, but whatever. He steps outside, he gets just a little dose of it. He's able to, now that he knows what he's looking at, he's able to break it down and understand that he is looking at the entire scope of human communications from around the world. And he's able to pick it apart, and he sees at one point this video that's posted by this kid. And the kid's like, hey, Captain Atom, super cool what you did with the volcano. You are a walking miracle. If I could just be a little selfish, I have brain cancer, and I was kind of hoping that you could, work your miracles on me. And Captain Atom's like, let's see. So he goes to Kansas City. He teleports there. He's invisible. No one can see him. He goes into this kid's hospital room, and he's like, all right, I'm going to try to cure brain cancer. Let's see how that goes. And he goes down, he shrinks down into this dude's brain, into this kid's brain. And he's like, all right, I don't know how to make cerebrospinal fluid, so I'm just going to go to everything that doesn't look like normal brain tissue and just break it apart atom by atom. Of course, at the time that they're that he's doing this. They're trying some radical new therapy where it's going to basically it just basically they break it down as, hey, we can pick out which parts are foreign objects and this thing will attack them. And of course with Captain Atom in there, he's a foreign object, so this stuff starts attacking him as well. But he fights through it, he fights against it, and he manages to get the tumors out of this kid's head in a... It was a nice sequence. I'll fully admit it's a good sequence. There's a flash of light, and then the kid sits up. His name is Mikey. I don't think he's ever going to come back, but, in case he does. Mikey sits up, and he's like, hey, Captain Atom did it. He saved my life. And Captain Atom's just happy that he can do some healing for once. And then there's a 2-page cutaway. A bunch of dogs are fighting. Dude comes out to shush them, tells them to quit their yapping. And then one of the dogs is that thing that transformed in the last issue. And he starts transforming into the dude who's shushing him. And that's how the issue ends. I think the issue overall is pretty average. I think it's a good issue. But it really excels during the cancer bit. Because it's the thankless part of it. Like he didn't even tell the kid that he was there, and the kid has no reason to think that he's there, but he's still doing it, and he doesn't want to be noticed. He's doing this because it's the right thing to do, and that's a good superhero trait. I really do like that. The art, I really do like. There's a couple weird faces here and there, but for the most part, the coloring really brings it all together. So, let me double check who did the coloring. I think I gave them credit on the last issue too, because it is just fantastic. Jose Villarrubia, fantastic job. But no, I'm going to go ahead and give this one a 7. It's a good solid read. It really, we get the backstory of Captain Atom. We get him doing a heroic thing. Honestly, I feel like if it wasn't for the fact that this one doesn't have too much action, this might actually have made like a better first issue. Just because, not the part where he reforms, not the part with the volcano, because that clearly wouldn't make any sense, but everything after that, the whole thing of, the doctors talking about him and how he might be dangerous, him being able to see all of human communications, it's just setting up, okay, here's his power set, here's his backstory, and here's the kind of good that he does. I think that's very well done. So I'm going to give this one a 7. Still looking forward to Captain Atom moving forward. And yeah, it's a decent comic. Who'da thunk? DC Universe Presents number 2, or Deadman number 2, however you want to call it. Written by Paul Jenkins, art by Bernard Chang. Last left off, Deadman had just possessed this veteran that he is tasked with helping, and then held a gun up to his head in order to summon Rama, the goddess who forced him to be Deadman. This issue picks up right where we left off, where he's like, okay, now that I have your attention, to be clear, I was never going to do that. But me and you do need to talk because I have no idea what is going on. And so Rama takes him on this little thing. He's like, okay, yeah, that's my bad. I should explain, a little bit. But here's the thing. You're still just a dude. Like, you don't even understand how, time flows or how gravity functions. Like, I'm a goddess, so I'm trying to explain to you how life and death and reincarnation and all that, I'm literally trying to explain to you how the meaning of life is, and it's not that easy. So I can't explain it to you. Just kind of deal with it and trust that I know what I'm doing, And he's like, what's the purpose of it? He's like, you're helping people. That's the purpose. There you go. Is that good enough? And he's like, okay, well, why are they sticking around with me? And Rama pauses, and she's like, psychic residue. He's like, psychic residue. Yes, that's what it is. Anyway, keep helping people, stop complaining, and don't worry, it'll end eventually. Bye. And so Deadman, he ends back up in the veteran's body. He's like, okay. So she was obviously lying about that part of where they stay with me. But I don't think I can really contact her again using the same method. So we're going to need a plan B. So he goes out to a bar as the veteran, Like, he wheels the guy into a bar, and once he sees a cute girl at the bar, he basically starts the conversation for him. He makes a joke, and then once they get to talking, he leaves the body so that, hey, now he's got some company and he's going to stay busy for at least a little bit while Deadman takes care of what he needs to take care of. So apparently there's this bar in Gotham named the Moonstone Club. I guess it's a club. But it's apparently where all of the magic stuff, like supernatural, like where they go to hang out. In a club in Gotham. So Deadman possesses a guy. It's in order to sneak in. And one of the runes, because there's a rune stone outside of the club, starts going off like an alarm. And everyone's like, hey, wait a minute. You're actually possessed, aren't you? And he's like, crap. So Deadman runs inside, manages to get in long enough so that he can change bodies over into one of the bouncers and then toss the body he was in out. It's going to get a bit confusing here. And then he starts talking to the other bouncer there, and he's like, hey, I should probably report this to the boss. And the bouncer's like, what are you talking about? I'm the one who reports stuff to the boss. And you're like, right. Where is the boss anyway? It's like, are you feeling okay? He's like, no, I'm not. I should probably speak to the manager. He's like, I'm the manager. Deadman calls it quits, punches the guy in the face. And another person's like, inside is like, why'd you punch him? He looked at me funny. That's weird. He's blind. That's probably why he was looking funny. So, jig is up, and Deadman's having to fight a bunch of people. We cut to a person called the Librarian, who's just an old woman with angel wings. She talks to what I assume is a werewolf who's keeping guard outside the door. And it's like, hey, make sure nobody disturbs me. I want to be left alone with my reading. And we just see this. She's in this huge room of books. Deadman does a couple jumps, and there are people who can actually see him in this club because they're all supernatural. So he has to manage to sneak his way downstairs to where the librarian is, because that is apparently his end goal. He sneaks into this one girl, feigns like, oh God, it's horrible up there, please stop them, as she runs downstairs, but then they catch on to that too. He accidentally ends up on stage for like an open mic night thing, and I don't know if this is ever going to come back, but one of the vampire kings is there. Like, I like this one. If he lives through the night, get him some champagne. The guards show up and go to fight him, but then we cut back into the librarian's room where she can hear all the smashing and banging and stuff like that. And she calls for the werewolf, whose name is Wilfred. Wilfred, I don't want to be disturbed, Wilfred. I thought I told you. And then he slams through the door. Deadman has possessed a Frankenstein, zombie-looking thing. And he basically just asks her, okay, I've been through a lot. Just tell me where my book is. And she's like, I don't know what you're talking about. He's like, you're the librarian. All these books are people's lives. From beginning to end. I just want to know where my story ends. At what point am I free from this? And the librarian's like, you're not allowed to read your own book. It's like, fine. You read it for me and just tell me where it ends. After some mild threatening. And she's like, okay, well, and she finds his book. She opens it up and is like, wow, okay. The table of contents is already 1,000 chapters long. And you are linked to so many other books. I don't even know where to begin. And Boston's like, I don't care how it begins. How does it end? She, quoting here, the same ending for all of you. You are to be damned together. And that's where we end. Okay, so big things happening, I suppose. We got, Rama is clearly not expecting that the lives are still intertwined with Deadman in some way. And then he goes and finds the story of his life and sees that it ends with him being damned, which is not how he thought this was supposed to go. So, obviously, trouble for Deadman. The book as a whole, though, technically speaking, I think it's good. I think it's a very well-told issue. Once we get into the whole body jumping thing, I think they did a good job of me being able to keep track where he is at any time. The fact of, certain people can see him, how he's getting in and out of bodies in, strategic ways so that certain people are getting punched instead of other people. I don't know. It's a well-told sort of fight scene of an issue where it's like, all right, how does someone who can't be punched himself but still needs to punch people fight, and it's a good back and forth in that. I like that. Monster designs are kind of lazy. It's just like universal looking monsters. You got a Frankenstein, a Dracula. Like, there's nothing that's really stand out as, wow, look at that. But the art has never really been the highest point of this book. It's not bad, but it's pretty stock standard, which I think you could do a lot more with supernatural elements than stock standard. So overall, I'm going to give this one a 6. It's fine. It's good. It's got some issues, but I like where the story's headed, and I like the fact that, like, Rama, supposedly a good goddess, or at least positive in some way, is kind of just teasing this guy along and not giving him straight answers. I like that. It's a good character setup. So no, I'm looking forward to the rest of DC Universe Presents, at least for the Dead Man story. We'll see what happens after that. Justice League number 2, written by Geoff Johns, art by Jim Lee. We last left off with Batman and Green Lantern picking a fight with Superman. And this issue pretty much picks up there. First, though, we get a quick glimpse over at Central City, Barry Allen's crime lab. He had just cracked open this case, found some place where the evidence didn't match up with the official story, and he wants to pursue it, but apparently every single, I want to say cop, but I think it's just everyone involved with the police in any capacity, has to work on who in the world is the Flash, because every single vigilante is public enemy number 1 right now. So Barry's just upset that he can't deal with the case. Cut back to the fight, 2-page spread, beautiful, of Superman telling Batman, all right, your utility belt's empty. I'm coming after you now. And he goes up and he explains that he fought one of these demon-looking things, and they also had a box just like the one Batman's carrying. So why does Batman have this? Who are you working for? Green Lantern gets back up. He manages to get back into the fight. Separates Superman and Batman by chaining Superman down with green construct chains. And Superman's like, chain? You think chains are chains of light, mind you? Okay. And he just explodes out of them. Green Lantern's like, there's no way he's that strong. That's impossible. But Superman just comes back up and is ready to start wailing again. Green Lantern makes another construct shield as he makes a call to Barry Allen. And Barry picks up and he's like, hey, Hal, I told you not to call me here. And he's like, oh, yeah, I understand. I really need you, though. He's like, I don't know. Last time you and I did something, we put away a psychic gorilla and everybody else started coming after us. And he's like, okay, let me tell you what's going on then, at least. We got alien stuff, some magic box, and I'm with Batman. He's like, Batman's real? Yes, Batman's real. And we're both fighting Superman. He's like, you're fighting Superman? Why? He's like, it's a big misunderstanding, but you're the only thing that might be faster than him, so could you please come in here and help us? He's like, I don't know. He's going to kill us, Barry. And Barry immediately is just there. And he separates the two from Superman and starts basically taunting Superman as Superman tries to land a punch, saying like, oh, no one's ever touched me, Superman. I'm too fast. Dodging around, weaving, and making sure he's looking like a fool. And then Superman, at one point, he throws a punch. It misses, but then he extends his finger in a flick, and Flash just goes flying, like down an entire street. And the Flash is like, okay, that hurt. Finally, Batman, this entire time, has been trying to tell Superman what's up, but everyone's been fighting too much. He finally gets in the middle of everything, and he's like, Superman, stop hurting us. Look, we aren't on their side. It's an alien. You're an alien. We thought maybe you knew. Clearly you don't. Can we please work together? And Green Lantern is like, all right, Barry, we're done fighting. And Barry starts cleaning up the mess around them. But at that exact moment, helicopters come in because, of course, every vigilante around here is a bad guy. So they go down into the sewers to escape from prying eyes. Cut over to Star Labs. We meet Silas Stone. Silas is working with the Mother Box from the fight that Superman had, trying to get anything out of it, but they can't even figure out what it's made of, let alone how it works. But he's excited, and he's like, all right, well, we're going to, if superhumans are involved, then we're going to do what we can. But outside, his son, Victor Stone, is waiting, so he has to take a quick second for his son. Victor's like, hey, Dad, had a football game tonight. Promised you'd be there. There were a bunch of recruiters all offering me full scholarships. So that's kind of cool, right? And Silas is like, I don't know. I could pay for your whole trip. I don't know why we need scholarships. He's like, okay, well, can you at least pretend to care about football? And Silas is like, son, there are literal gods fighting out there. Your stupid little football thing means nothing in comparison. And Victor's like, okay, all right, you're a terrible dad. Silas is like, yes, I am. So, cut back to, they all met up in an abandoned printing press because Superman doesn't have a base of operations. And we get just a little bit of banter between everybody else where they're just talking about, like, what powers everybody has. And, like, well, Superman doesn't seemingly have a secret identity. I do like this one part here, though, where Barry's like, oh, I could take the box and I could run it for DNA or fingerprints. And Batman's like, you sound like a cop. Flash's like, I am a cop. I work in the crime scene. And Hal's like, Barry, don't give away your secret identity. And Barry's like, Hal, don't use my name. So I just like that moment. But then all at once, the boxes, both at Star Labs and the one with the 4 members of the League here, start activating. They start making a ping noise. And they just explode with a giant boom. Parademons start flying out of it. The one that was in Star Labs vaporizes one of the assistants that was standing close to it. And our final page, it shows that Victor Stone has been horribly burned on massive amounts of his body by this thing, this explosion. So yeah, that's where we leave off. Justice League number 2, I still don't understand. It was nearly a 2-month gap between issue 1 and issue 2. But hey, if that's how they want to do it. As for the issue itself, it's good. It's a good... I wish that the fight scene wasn't with... It's a good fight. I don't want to say it's not a good fight, because it is. Superman fighting them, they did it creatively. It looks great. There are 2 two-page spreads just showing how strong Superman is. It really sells it. But I just wish it wasn't a Superman fight, you know? Like... Why do we have to fight Superman? And even then, nobody wins. It's not that Superman overpowered them. It's not that anybody won. It's just the fact that Batman managed to get in the middle at one point and be like, this is dumb, guys. Stop. I don't know. It's not a bad issue. I want to make that clear. It's not a bad issue. I just wish that it wasn't a Superman fight in issue 2. Especially after that long of a wait. It didn't seem worth it to me. Art, of course, is fantastic. Everything looks great. Jim Lee, he took the time, he took the effort. It really looks fantastic. Like I said, there were a couple jokes in here that I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed how Hal is criticizing Barry for giving away his secret identity while simultaneously giving away his secret identity. And then when they're talking about each other's powers, they're like, what can you do, Batman? And Batman's like, I can keep us on track. Now come on and let's figure this out. It's just good little writing moments like that. It's just, I wish it wasn't Superman. Overall, I'm going to give this an 8.5. Extremely well done. Very, borderline on, you need to read it. But it is still, it's missing something. It's missing something, and I'm not sure exactly what I would want from it, but it's just ever so slightly off the mark. So 8.5. Of course I'm going to keep reading it, as if I have a choice. But even if I did have a choice, I would still be reading this book. So yeah, Justice League number 2, 8.5. Wonder Woman number 2, written by Brian Azzarello, art by Cliff Chang. We last left off on I don't even know what. It was a confusing issue. There was a prophecy, a woman was being attacked, and she was saved by a bird god and Wonder Woman, and some other stuff, and Apollo was there. Anyway, this issue really clears things up, and I'm not being facetious, it actually does. So, we open up on Mount Olympus. Hera is there, she's pissed off. Because Wonder Woman is helping save this girl. And another woman shows up, a goddess. she claims that Hera is the mother. We don't get a name for her yet, but later on we find out that she is Strife. So I'm just going to call her Strife because it's easier than say this mystery woman. Strife is like, hey, so I just thought you might need some help, Mom. What's going on? And she's like, oh yeah, you care. Strife cares about giving me help. Psh, whatever. And they just go through the whole thing of like how Hera's married to Zeus, and Zeus kind of sleeps around a lot, and Hera lets out on how there is another child of Zeus being born to this woman that she tried to have killed. And now Hermes is the bird god, and Hermes was the one who went and protected the woman. I really wish she had a name. I know she did in the last issue, but I can't remember it. If it's brought up again, I'll know it. So anyway, going to protect the woman. And Hera's like, look, there's a price to sleeping with Zeus. Even if she didn't know it, I have to have my jealous revenge. And Strife is like, okay, well, maybe I could help you out a little bit. I'm willing to help out Mommy Dearest, cause a little bit of strife. So where's Wonder Woman now? Turns out she's on Paradise Island. She brought both Hermes and the woman with her. And it's kind of an issue that Hermes is there because he's technically a male god. He's a god, but he's a male god. And as they're walking through the jungles on Themyscira, there's this whispers from the woods of like, it's a guy. He's got a dick. Let's cut it off. And Wonder Woman's like, stop it. You will listen to your princess or queen's daughter, or however she wants to say. And all of the Amazons show themselves, and Queen Hippolyta shows up, and they just get to talking. They have an arena where a fight's going on because I guess that's just what you do. And they're like, all right, so Wonder Woman, Diana, are you going to side with Hera or are you going to side with Zeus? Because either this woman has to die or she has to live. Either way, you're picking a side of the god. She's like, I'm not siding with either god. I'm siding with saving this woman. That's where this comes down to. Meanwhile, her name is Zola. That's right, Zola. Anyway, how could I forget such a common name as Zola? So Zola is talking to Hermes up in the balcony, I guess. And Hermes gives the breakdown of Wonder Woman's backstory of, she was carved out of clay. Hippolyta was unable to have children, but she desperately wanted a daughter. So Zeus gave life to the clay, and that makes her the perfect daughter of the Amazons, for she was conceived without man and needing to be involved. And then Hermes brings up like, hey, by the way, Zeus is known for shapeshifting into like the thing you most like find irresistible. So what did he turn into for you in order to sleep with you? And Zola takes a breath. She's like, a truck driver. Or maybe it was a pool hustler. Could have been that dude in the band. That would have been nice. And Hermes is like, oh, so apparently he didn't have to transform very much. And he's like, Zola's just like, I like dudes. What do you want me to say? I like having sex. Bring it. Very empowering. So anyway, people are kind of calling out that Wonder Woman has gotten a little bit rusty, having lived amongst the men for so long. And there's so much, I almost want to call it sexual tension here. Like, everything they're doing is just some form of innuendo. Where, like, just, okay, Wonder Woman, do you accept the fight? Yes, I do. Do you still prefer the staff for games? I do. Like, it's all just sexual innuendo. But anyway, they fight. It's a good sequence here where Wonder Woman proves that she does still have fight in her. Hippolyta's distressed, though, because, they're on Paradise Island with Zeus's bastard child, and Hera knows that they're there. So what unholy hell will be unleashed upon them? And as she's saying so, there's a giant explosion, and Strife walks out. She puts a spell on some of the Amazons that are coming after her, so that they all see their sisters, the other Amazons, as enemy warriors. So they all just start killing each other. For some reason, Wonder Woman isn't affected by this, or maybe she's purposely not affected. She tells the Amazons, everyone, put down your weapons and stop attacking. You're killing each other. Strife steps up. She's huge at this point. She scales herself up. And she's like, what do you want here, Strife? Is your brother Ares involved? And Strife is like, no, I haven't actually seen him for a while. He's kind of in a funk. But I'm actually here just to talk to I'm here in peace. I just want to embrace my little sister. And it's like, oh, so you think that Zola has a girl being born? And she's like, oh, no, that's not who I'm talking about at all. I'm talking about you, Wonder Woman. You're my sister. And that's where we leave off, with Hera looking mightily pissed about this. So, I mean, it seems like the big reveal here is that Zeus is an actual father of Wonder Woman instead of just life giver. So that's the thing moving forward, I think. I really do like the art in this. I really do like the thing. It's just this strange level of like sexual tension across the entirety of the issue. Like everything has some level of innuendo to it. Which, fine, I guess, but it's so out of place compared to every other comic I'm reading. Like nothing else has that. This is the only one that has this weird level of like, yes, but the difference between boys and girls, ho ho ho. And I'm like, okay, why though? I don't know. It's fine. It's a good read. I really like how they're playing with the mythology and all that of not only Wonder Woman but the Greek mythology as well. The art, fantastic. I really can't fault any part of it. This particular issue doesn't really forward much, really. Like, it just kind of set... Whereas the first issue was so confusing, this one spent its entire time explaining, like, what the hell did we mean by issue number 1? And also setting up Wonder Woman for people who don't know Wonder Woman. So overall, I'm going to give this one a 7. It's fine. It's a good read. It's a solid read. But it is still just... It's just making up for the confusion of the first issue. At least for me personally. Maybe if you knew what the hell they were talking about in the first issue... This is forwarding it for you. But for me personally, this is a 7. But now that we've got the explanations out of the way, it should be able to move forward at a much more brisk pace, and I'm very much looking forward to that. Blue Beetle number 2, written by Tony Bedard, art by Ig Guara. Last left off with Jaime getting the scarab attached to him and him turning fully Blue Beetle. Pick up this issue pretty much exactly afterwards with that scene from Spider-Man Homecoming where he deals with the suit's options and whatnot. This is literally just that. Although this was done first, so credit to this. We see through the Blue Beetle's eyes, and it's like this heads-up display where it's selecting like vital organs that can be attacked to kill these people who are attacking him. And there's a voice in his head that's like, terminate them, kill them, target selected, selecting lethal options. And Jaime's just trying to process everything. He's like, why does everything look so different? What do you mean lethal options? I don't want to kill anybody. Where did my clothes go? What is going on with this? Does anyone else hear that voice in my head? The one that sounds like a cricket humping a chalkboard? That's an exact quote, by the way. Meanwhile, the whole time, the people who were attacking him were like, what are you talking about, man? Like, what? Like, I guess they didn't see the transformation or something, but these, like, they're literally not attacking him just because they think he's absolutely, crazy. But then he remembers that his friend Paco was basically attacked and left to die elsewhere. He realizes he has to go save Paco, and he's also kind of pissed that, these people in front of him attacked his friend. So he has like extendable claws that come out, and he just impales these two people in front of him. And they're like, the suit's like, good, now finish them. He's like, I'm not gonna kill them. I just want to go find Paco. So he runs off and he tries to find Paco. We see the other villains looking on, seeing like, who's this guy? Is this guy with us? Is he someone else? Like, what? This guy's just showing up out of nowhere. But they think that they were sent by some other group. Anyway, Blue Beetle makes it over to Paco. He discovers he's a flight mode, so he's trying to fly. Paco's like, okay, so this is a literal hell spawn that's trying to touch me, so he's trying to just keep his distance from it. The giant melty guy, I can't remember his name offhandedly, and I'm not going to bother to look it up. He speaks German. He's like, oi, where's your... Yeah, I'm not going to bother with that. Where's your backpack? Jaime blasts the guy, and he's like, oh, Jesus, yeah, what was in my backpack? Is that what this thing is on me now? And then the one who is able to cause fear, like, absolute terror in other people, he's like, well, it doesn't matter now. Prepare to live your worst fear. And Jaime's like, too late for that. I'm already in high school. And throws a punch and knocks her out. The melty guy manages to cut Paco off as he's trying to run away. But Jaime comes in, just lifts Paco up, and just carries him away. Just out of the whole fight. Cut to the party that they're supposed to be at. The quinceañera for whatever her name was. And basically she's just waiting for Jaime and Paco. She's like, where are my friends? I'm supposed to tell her. The aunt who's the estate they are currently at, and also the one who's trying to get the scarab earlier on, she's like, hey, so where are your friends? Maybe you should be looking for a boyfriend. And maybe one of them could do well. And basically out of nowhere, there's this huge ruckus at the front gate. Everyone's freaking out. The security guards, which are everywhere, start pulling their guns, telling everybody to get inside because there's something at the front gate. The aunt is pissed because security guards are supposed to deal with it, keep it quiet, and not freak everybody out. But since everybody else is freaked out already, everyone else goes inside. The aunt and security make their way out to the front gate. And who's there but Jaime, carrying Paco, and he's like, sorry, couldn't think of anywhere else to go. We just need to get somewhere safe. Why do so many people here have guns? And the one guy lets out a warning shot at Jaime, but he's like, look, sorry, I'm setting down Paco. Like, I don't know what's going on. Look, there was a fight. Some people got hurt real bad. This whole time, the suit's telling him, like, shut up, stop talking, stop giving away personal information. You shouldn't be doing this. And Jaime's like, and I just want this thing off me. And finally, the suit's like, look, you're about to compromise the mission. I'm about to shut you up myself. And he makes Jaime vomit all over the shoes of the aunt. And he's like, oh, sorry. That was the suit. I swear that wasn't me. They start firing off shots at Blue Beetle. He tells the suit to make them stop, but it has to be non-lethal. And it does. It just knocks them all out. He goes to apologize to the aunt, and who's now looking after Paco. The girl that he likes, again, what is her name? It's pissing me off that I don't know what her name is. I don't know. Doesn't matter. Anyway, she's just like, sorry, okay, and he flies away because the girl tells him to basically buzz off. So then we get a cutout into space. The Reach ship, giant blue Beetle-looking ship, and two of the Beetles are talking, and they're like, man, are we too good at our jobs? It's so boring invading everybody nowadays. Like, we just instantly win every time. I'm so bored. And then all of a sudden, they get the reading that the Beetle on Earth suddenly kicked back to life. And the one guy who's saying how bored he is like, wait a minute, hold on. Either we win or we die. Nothing ever just disappears and comes back. Can I please go check this out? Pretty please? I really, really, really want to check this out. And they're like, fine, go, check it out. And I'll go ahead and, I'll be following up behind you. Let me just tell the Hive Masters that we're going to give them a new planet, Planet Earth. And that's where we leave off. I like this issue. It's got a lot going on in it, but it does it in a good way. Like, me explaining it is not doing it justice. Like, it really does a good job of, you follow, okay, they're going from A to B to C to D to E. Like, it follows a nice little path there. I think the biggest issue that I have with it is the fact that, like I said, I don't know these characters yet. I'm not super familiar with them, but they're not naming them that frequently. Like, only here I finally get that her name is Brenda. The girl that Jaime likes and whose quinceañera it is. Her name is Brenda. But it's only said once in this whole thing. So, no, I think that they could do a little bit better of reminding me, like, who these characters are in their relation to each other, especially this early on in the run. But that's just a minor thing. I like the... Because he is Spider-Man. That's what he is. I like how it is basically just the Spider-Man Homecoming scene of him figuring out what his powers are and him being able to, talk to the suit. And the suit having a complete other mind of its own is always fun as well. I'm looking forward to how that plays off each other. So overall, I'm going to give this one a 6.5. It's good. It's fine. Art's pretty stock standard, but I like the whole fight scene. It's a fight done well because he doesn't want to fight. He just wants to get his friend away. It's a very well done fight scene in that regard. So no, 6.5. Looking forward to issue 3. Hopefully I can remember people's names by then so I can at least pretend that I'm competent. Legion of Superheroes number 2, written by Paul Levitz, art by Francis Portela. We left off last issue with a subsection of the team being on this planet, and as they're about to stop this giant signal thing that's not supposed to be there, they're attacked by a Daxamite with all the powers of Superman. And so she picks up, same place, with them being attacked by the Daxamite. His name is Rez Ver, and he's especially pissed off the Legionnaires because I guess the Legion of Superheroes is part of some conspiracy to keep the planet of Daxam, like, prisoner or something, or at least that's what he thinks. So he starts tearing apart the team one by one. He's just backhanding everybody. Chameleon lad, kid, I'm just going to say Chameleon. He literally sets him on fire with his heat vision, and the whole team is just down for the count, except for Phantom Girl. She's disappeared, and he can't seem to find her. Cut back to the main headquarters in the time lab. Glorith is some shield against, I think it's a time bubble, or a time bubble just exploded. I don't know. It's so confusing. But anyway, Brainiac 5 comes in, and he's like, wow, okay, so your shield's pretty cool. And she's like, oh, you're not pissed off I blew up the time bubble? And it's like, no. Flashpoint messed up everything. Yes, Brainiac, yes, it did. But he was saying how now they blocked their ability to reach the period of history in the early 21st century that they're so well synchronized with. But he's like, well, maybe we can find a way around it, but he has to think about it some more. And he's super interested in Glor's shields because apparently they can defy the law of conservation of momentum. I don't know what's going on. Anyway, back to the main fight. 4 members of the Legion team, everyone except for Phantom Girl, are locked up in bubbles that they're unable to get out of. And basically saying, like, look, this planet, this is going to help us on Daxam finally get out of the reach of Legion oppression. So you will never escape. Ha ha ha. And I'll go find that extra girl. And Chameleon lad's like, okay, well, this is a bit of advanced tech for him. Like, his race of people does not have this style of tech. So somebody else is giving him some tech for whatever it is he wants. And then other kids are like, hey, are we getting out of here or not? He's like, well, we can't. We're trapped, so we're going to have to rely on Phantom Girl. But for now, we just wait and we plan. Meanwhile, we cut to Phantom Girl, and Phantom Girl's like, in the planet, she's way far down, and apparently the Daxamites are weak to lead. Like, not only can they not see through lead, they also have a, like, deathly allergy to it. And she's just hanging out inside of this planet that has a decent amount of lead, and he's like, I'm just going to wait it out and hope that my help signal reached whoever could, help. We then cut to the Legion headquarters on Earth. Mon-El, another Daxamite, this time with the Legion, is already on his way to take them out. And Element Lad is the only person who might be able to rival the power of a Daxamite. So they're like, hey, we need you to go too. And then we get an explanation as to the Daxamites. This is already what I explained to you, the allergy to lead and whatever. Then we get a cut to a graveyard of heroes where someone named Earthman is dead. And someone named Shadowlass that we're introduced to is grieving over his grave. And a bunch of other Legionnaires are like, okay, we got to go though now. There's big things going on. He's like, no, let me stay. The herd is too much. And then someone named Polar Boy and someone who has fire powers, I don't even know. Polar Boy hits on that. It doesn't matter. It literally affects nothing. So we cut back to the Daxamite who is just explaining, like, yes, the girl has disappeared. She won't be able to interfere with our next step. You've been recruited to help this day. The Daxamites will be the most powerful world in the galaxy. And now that he has some potion that Brainiac 5 made so that Mon-El isn't affected by the lead allergy, so now he can save his planet, I guess, with it. I don't know. In that exact moment, Phantom Girl sneaks into the lab where they're being held. He's like, hey, I'm not here to, like, save you guys yet, but I just need to make sure you're okay. And Chameleon's like, get the hell out of here before he hears you. And, of course, he heard her, tries fighting her. She's like, okay, well, I'm just going to go back underground now, bye. But before she can, she is captured, or at least she starts to be captured, and then Mon-El comes in, fights the other Daxamite of Resvere. It's a big brawl, lasts over like 2 or 3 pages. Finally, Resvere's like, look, you should be helping me. Daxam's being held prisoner by the Legion. He's like, hey, dumbass. Daxam is allergic to lead, which is everywhere in the universe. They're in quarantine so they don't die. And he's like, you're a liar. We're stronger than that. And plus, they've got a potion that could totally save us. Why aren't they giving us this medicine and whatnot? So anyway, Mon-El and some other guy are holding him back. And he's like, well, it doesn't matter if you stop me because my plan is already in motion, as we see a whole bunch of spaceships flying off to do something. I am so confused by this book all the time. Genuinely and truly. It jumps between like 18 different plots. And the one that I know is the main one, the one with the Daxamites, it's like, maybe I'm just putting too much thought into it, but it seems like way too basic, you know? Like, our planet is in isolation. He thinks that means imprisonment, and he wants to free them. That's the plot. That is the basic idea of what he wants, as far as I can tell. But they do have a medicine that helps him not be deathly allergic to lead. I know this because they're on a planet full of lead, as Phantom Girl points out. So why can't they save Daxam? I'm just confused by everything they're doing. Also, art-wise, I don't know what I said about last issue, but this issue, especially with the Daxamite taking up so many pages, every page looks like a... Do you remember Fisher-Price put out a bunch of, I think they were called like Rescue Heroes, way back in like the early 2000s? He looks like them all the time. He's got the exact proportions down. It's ridiculous how close it is to that. And it's got the same sort of shading and everything. I don't know. I don't know why that popped in my head, but that's like the perfect comparison. And it just doesn't look right. So I don't really like the art. I don't really like the story. Unfortunately, I've got to give this one like a 3. I'm not into it. I'm really not. Maybe it'll turn it around, but this one, I'm just not into any of this right now. It's confusing. I don't care. There's so many characters, I can't bring myself to care about any of them. It's just not good right now. Maybe it'll get there. It's a long trade, but I'm not looking forward to it. And that's it. That is all the books that came out this week, October 19th, 2011. And you know what? I don't really have a gut feeling yet for what my favorite week is. There's no one week that I'm like, yes, this is it. This is the one that holds all my favorite comics and doesn't have any of my least favorite comics. There's good and bad in all of them. But if that last review of Legion of Superheroes is any indication, I'm not a fan of weeks with Legion of Superhero books. So week 3 already out. Week 4, however, looking a lot better. Week 4, October 26th, 2011, holds the number 2 issues of Batman the Dark Knight, Superman, Green Lantern New Guardians, Aquaman, The Flash, The Fury of Firestorm, The Nuclear Men, The Savage Hawkman, All-Star Western, Blackhawks, Voodoo, Teen Titans, I, Vampire, and Justice League Dark. But oh wait, what's that on the horizon, raising up like a horrifying beast? It's Legion Secret Origin, written by Paul Levitz, the current writer on Legion of Superheroes. I'm assuming this will give me backstory for all those heroes that I don't care about, and will try to make me care about them. Good luck. It seems like a little bit too little too late. Oh, dear God, I am not looking forward to that one. But hey, Are you looking forward to me not looking forward to that one, or are you just looking forward to it on its own? Tell me what you think of any of the books I've covered this week, next week, or any book I'm ever going to talk about in the near future on Twitter at DC Comics Podcast. That is at DC Comics Podcast. All one word. Use the hashtag New52 because, that's the point of this show. We're talking about the New 52. Get with it. Additionally, we have a Patreon. It is Mild Fuzz TV. That is Mild Fuzz TV on patreon.com. I have to pay into it, so do you. So break out your checkbooks and act like it's not a recession. But yeah, that's it. That's the show. I really don't like Legion. I didn't think I would hate it this much. It's the last one I reviewed. I try to review these things in pretty much order just for my sake of getting it all edited together. And Legion was the last thing I read, and I'm just not a fan. I'm just not a fan, which sucks because it's such an untapped gold mine for like DC Comics knowledge. If you really want to show off what you know, you're like, oh yeah, I know the Legion of Superheroes. But I think the reason that it's so untapped is because nobody really wants to read them. I think it was a Silver Age thing, and I think it might need to die. But hey, that's just me. Tell me how wrong I am. Tell me how much you hate that opinion of mine, and I'll lick up your delicious tears. Your Legion-loving tears. Anyway, I'm just fighting now at this point. I'm just bitter because it's late and I didn't want to read Legion. So anyway, that is it for me. Always remember, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.